The alarm clock screams at 6 a.m., and your soul dies a little more each day. You drag yourself through routines that feel like prison sentences, checking boxes that someone else designed for your existence. You smile at conversations that bore you, pursue goals that excite no part of your being, and wonder why success feels like slow suffocation. Today we expose the devastating truth that will shatter your comfortable misery. You are living a counterfeit existence designed by fear, limitation, and other people's expectations, while your authentic divine life waits in agonizing neglect. The life you were born to live, abundant, purposeful, magnificent, remains locked away because you've been hypnotized into accepting a cheap imitation as your reality. Every moment you spend living the wrong life is a moment stolen from the glorious existence, that infinite intelligence designed specifically for your expression. The universe created you with unique gifts, distinct purpose, and divine inheritance that can only be fulfilled through authentic alignment with your true nature. Yet, you've been conditioned to ignore these inner callings in favor of external approval, financial security, and social acceptance that leaves your soul starving while your bank account grows. The wrong life reveals itself through unmistakable symptoms that you've learned to call normal. You feel exhausted despite adequate sleep because your energy gets drained by activities that contradict your divine nature. You experience chronic anxiety because your nervous system rebels against living in opposition to your authentic self. You find yourself saying someday while precious years disappear into regret and resignation. These feelings aren't character flaws requiring medication. They're divine alarms signaling that you've wandered far from your intended path. Most people mistake their wrong life for maturity, responsibility, and wisdom. They convince themselves that passion is impractical, that dreams are childish, that security matters more than significance. But this martyrdom masquerading as virtue actually represents the greatest spiritual emergency you can face: the systematic murder of your divine potential through slow compromise with mediocrity. Your wrong life was constructed through decades of programming that taught you to prioritize other people's comfort over your own calling. Parents who meant well but feared greatly encouraged you to choose safety over authenticity. Teachers who valued conformity over creativity rewarded you for coloring inside lines drawn by limited imagination. Employers who needed your compliance more than your genius promoted you for predictability rather than innovation. Each compromise seemed small, reasonable, mature, until they accumulated into a prison of other people's preferences, disguised as your own choices. The biblical truth illuminates this spiritual tragedy perfectly. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? This warning reveals that external success means nothing when achieved through betrayal of your authentic nature. When you live the wrong life for the right reasons, security, approval, comfort, you trade your divine inheritance for temporary human benefits that can never satisfy the deeper longings of your soul. Consider the profound awakening of Julia Child, who spent her early adulthood following the conventional path expected of women in her generation. She married, moved to Paris with her diplomat husband, and could have settled into the comfortable role of embassy wife that society prescribed. Instead, at age 36, she encountered French cuisine and experienced a divine calling that changed everything. Child recognized that her previous life, though socially acceptable, had been starving her authentic self. Her transformation began when she stopped living according to external expectations and started following internal inspiration. Child enrolled in cooking school, pursued her passion with relentless dedication, and eventually wrote Mastering the Art of French Cooking, a work that revolutionized American cuisine and established her as a culinary legend. Her success came not through abandoning responsibility, but through aligning responsibility with authenticity. Child proved that your right life often waits until you're brave enough to disappoint people who've grown comfortable with your wrong one. Child's demonstration reveals that living authentically requires the courage to upset those who benefit from your conformity. Family members who've defined you by your limitations feel threatened when you claim your divine possibilities. Friends who've bonded with you over shared complaints resist your transformation into someone who creates solutions. Colleagues who've accepted mediocrity as inevitable feel judged by your commitment to excellence. But their discomfort signals that you're moving toward your true life rather than away from it. The wrong life perpetuates itself through fear-based thinking that presents false choices between security and significance, responsibility and passion, wisdom and dreams. This either-or mentality keeps you trapped in limitations that masquerade as mature decision-making. But divine intelligence operates through both and consciousness that creates financial abundance through passionate purpose, that builds security through authentic expression, that demonstrates wisdom through courageous faith in your divine calling. Your right life exists as a complete reality in divine mind, waiting for your recognition and activation. Every talent you possess, every dream that stirs your soul, every vision that excites your imagination represents a piece of the magnificent existence that infinite love designed for your experience. When you align with this divine blueprint instead of human limitation, circumstances reorganize themselves to support your authentic expression. The story of Jonah reveals this principle with perfect clarity. When divine intelligence called Jonah to deliver its message to Nineveh, he chose what seemed safer, fleeing in the opposite direction toward Tarshish. His wrong life felt more comfortable than his divine assignment because it avoided challenges that authentic purpose often requires. Jonah's attempt to escape his calling led him directly into the belly of a whale, where the consequences of rejecting authentic purpose became impossible to ignore. In that dark, confined space, Jonah finally understood that running from divine calling creates more suffering than embracing it ever could. His transformation came when he stopped choosing personal comfort over divine purpose and trusted that infinite intelligence would provide whatever courage his authentic mission required. Divine intelligence communicates your authentic path through unmistakable inner knowing that persists despite external opposition. Your right life calls to you through dreams that won't die, visions that won't fade, and passions that won't be silenced by practical concerns. These inner stirrings represent cosmic broadcasts from infinite intelligence, revealing the magnificent existence that awaits your courageous commitment to authentic living. Now I invite you to break the spell of wrong life thinking by writing in the comments below, "I choose my divine life now." When you make this declaration publicly, you activate spiritual forces that begin dismantling the false structures supporting your counterfeit existence. Your written commitment creates accountability with cosmic intelligence, while inviting support from others who recognize the courage required to live authentically. This simple act transforms passive yearning into active demonstration of consciousness that chooses truth over comfort. The wrong life feels safe because it operates within known limitations and familiar disappointments. Your current struggles may be painful, but they're predictable, and predictable pain often feels preferable to unknown possibility. But this attachment to familiar misery keeps you trapped in cycles that never improve, relationships that never fulfill, and achievements that never satisfy because they serve your false identity rather than your authentic nature. Breaking free from wrong life programming requires the willingness to disappoint people who've grown comfortable with your limitations. Your transformation threatens those who've used your conformity to justify their own compromises. When you start living authentically, you become a mirror that reflects their abandoned dreams and unused potential. Expect resistance from those who need you to stay small so they can avoid facing their own divine calling. The marketplace demonstrates this principle through individuals who abandon security to pursue authentic expression. Richard Branson left school at 16 to start a magazine, rejecting conventional education in favor of entrepreneurial passion. His decision horrified adults who valued credentials over creativity, yet his willingness to follow authentic inspiration led to Virgin Group, a business empire worth billions, built through passionate engagement with meaningful challenges. Branson's success illustrates that your right life often requires you to trust inner guidance over external advice. While others saw his unconventional path as reckless abandonment of security, Branson recognized it as courageous alignment with divine intelligence that knew his authentic potential better than human limitation. His achievements prove that financial abundance flows naturally when you pursue your genuine calling, rather than forcing yourself into roles that contradict your divine nature. The signs of living your right life become unmistakable once you understand what to observe. Energy increases rather than depletes because you're flowing with divine current instead of swimming against it. Synchronicities multiply because you're aligned with cosmic intelligence that orchestrates perfect timing and miraculous connections. Challenges become exciting rather than overwhelming because they represent growth opportunities rather than meaningless obstacles. Most importantly, you discover that success in your right life serves others while fulfilling yourself. Your authentic gifts naturally contribute to collective good because divine intelligence designed your unique talents to meet specific needs in the world. When you live your wrong life, you deprive humanity of contributions that only you can make, while depriving yourself of the joy that comes through purposeful expression. Your talents represent divine investment that must be multiplied through courageous expression rather than buried through fearful hiding. Every day you spend in your wrong life is another day your talents remain buried, earning no return for the cosmic intelligence that invested them in your consciousness. The universe expects dividends on its investment in your unique potential, and those dividends can only be paid through authentic living that honors your divine gifts. Align with this sacred responsibility and declare with absolute conviction, I honor my divine gifts through courageous, authentic expression. When you embrace this truth, you transform from someone who wastes potential into someone who multiplies divine investment through passionate purpose. The transition from wrong life to right life rarely happens through gradual adjustment. It requires decisive breakthrough that severs ties with limiting identity and embraces expansive possibility. This breakthrough often feels like death because your false self must dissolve to make space for authentic self to emerge. The fear you experience during this transition isn't warning you away from danger. It's signaling that you're approaching the edge of limitation where transformation becomes possible. Your divine life waits beyond the boundaries of everything you've accepted as realistic, practical, or possible. It exists in the realm where passion meets purpose, where individual fulfillment serves collective good, where material abundance flows through spiritual alignment. This existence seems too good to be true from wrong life consciousness, but it represents normal reality for those who dare to live authentically.